So welcome to Let's Talk Business with Laura Nowlin and Dr. Cobian. Dr. Cobian couldn't be here with us for this show, and boy, she was really sorry. She got stuck in California. She's like, oh, I'm going to miss my mentor. But don't worry, she'll be at our next show. But here we have with us is Shaundell. Shaundell's actually one of our mentors of mine and the doctors. We really look up to you, Shaundell. We know you're a very busy man, and so we just appreciate you being here on our show. So thank
It's
you and
definitely my
welcome.
pleasure. And you guys have done a great job. Like what we appreciate more than anything is when not people just saying you're a mentor, but when you actually take the action and make things happen. So you guys making things happen is more than a reward for me.
You know, we've been very blessed that pretty much everyone that we've asked to join us on the show, they've said yes. Like, yeah, what day? When can I be there?
Well, who wouldn't? I would do it all day. It was easy.
So, Shaundell, you know, you mentor so many people in our community.
Yeah.
Well, you know, what really is your role, right, with your company, and how did you get there? Tell us a little bit more so the audience that doesn't know Shaundell, they can get to know Shaundell.
Well, you know what's funny is that I feel like I'm getting up there now, right? But I've been doing it so early, right? I started in marketing and communication in like 1982, and I was in high school. And I started, doing that graphic design and doing some programs at the church and church invitations and wedding invitations and things like that, because there was an entrepreneur, his name was Michael Collins in Brooklyn, New York, who owned a print shop when print was the bomb. Like, we didn't have all these cameras and all that. Print was the thing in 1982. Where, with churches, they used to print bulletins, they used to hand out flyers. Right. So I worked for him at 13 years old. Actually, I started right before I went to high school, and I did a lot of work for him, and I would typeset and do all that. And then I went to a high school called the High School of Graphic Communication Arts. Okay. When I started, there was the New York School of Printing. And it actually was a school that was funded by some funds from Ben Franklin. Because people don't realize that Ben Franklin was a big print guy. So our school was on 49th and 9th Avenue in the heart of Manhattan, not far from Rockefeller Center. Wow. So a lot of the kids that went to my school are still working behind the scenes at Disney, at what we call 30 Rock, Rockefeller Center, where the big tree is, for people to have that perspective. When they do it at Times Square, we were a few blocks from there, and we all interned at different we interned at, I interned at the print shop, but I also went to some of the marketing agencies in New York. New York is big on marketing. Yeah. So at this early age, I fell in love with branding, marketing. A guy named David Ogilvy, which now I'm really showing him a nerd, because I bet most people don't know who David Ogilvy is. He was like an Englishman who is really like the father of advertising and branding as we know it today. So riding the A train, I used to read his books, right? I was that kid. I was, listening to my Walkman. So really dating myself, right? Yeah. But then I went to the Air Force. Spent 10 years in the United States Air Force, and I had a job I couldn't even talk about. I was in a top secret program with red flag exercises were known, but we worked on drone technology and stealth technology in the late 90s. Wow. I mean, early 90s, the late 80s, early 90s. Spent time doing that, and then when I left there, I went to another innovation when people don't realize that there was a transition in the gaming industry. We went from gambling to gaming. Right. And the gambling to gaming was another innovation. It was like we went from the one-armed bandits, where people, you see the cherries, you see the lemons, you see the sevens, to where now it was gamification. It was, and the first game that I really got an opportunity to play with on the penny was the Beverly Hillbillies. You remember that show? I bet I know people out there going, oh my God, this dude is old. But the Beverly Hillbillies was the first game that I actually, maybe there were others, but everybody's doing like the Buffalo games now. But the Beverly Hillbillies and Jethro from the Beverly Hillbillies actually gave out T-shirts when we opened that game. So let me just say, because I think and I'm giving you the whole piece because I think people look at me and say, well, where did he learn all of this? Right. It was like I kept getting into places that were innovative, right? Well, let me back up, because at 14 years old, I started my first business.
Look at that, 14
years old, yeah.
Wow.
At 14, I did flyers, tape covers, and posters for like hip hop rap artists, we called them back then, in Brooklyn. You know, they needed to sell tapes out of their car. I made them by hand. I did calligraphy. I drew it by hand, and I would you know, make copies and put it there. And there was a paper mill. Like, they don't even have those anymore. There was a paper mill on Broadway, and they would sell paper to people, but they would cut them into scraps. So they would throw them away.
Okay.
And I go get the paper, and I bring it home, and I cut it into whatever I needed to be. I get a shopping cart and go get that, and then I would sell, you know, tape covers, posters. I do all that kind of stuff. And most of my clients and customers were girls, because the girls had money. Like, these dudes were broke. In New York, these rappers were broke back then. Now they got all this money, but back then they were broke. So I started my first business back then, and I learned how business works. And my mentor, Michael Collins, who owned a print shop, he wouldn't let me do any work in his print shop, like, for my business, because he was a Church of God in Christ. He was a deacon, and he said, "You're not gonna do that devil's music stuff on my. You're not gonna do that on my equipment. You're not gonna make me go to hell, right?" So I had to do my own thing, and I got some equipment, put it in our brownstone, and started doing that kind of stuff. So it was a journey. It was a journey from there to the military, and then to Station Casinos, where we changed the way we do gaming today.
Well, no, first, thank you so much for your service. Thank you. Us being a military family, we definitely understand, and we appreciate that. Yeah. Now, you went from New York then to Nevada. Ooh. What brought you here?
The Air Force, right? So what's funny about that, I thought I was, so the guy comes to me and goes, "Hey, you're gonna be going to the most exciting city in the world." I'm like, "Yeah, I live in New York."
Right.
Like, so how do you go from the most exciting? So I fly over, and I'm looking out the window, and I'm going, "So where's the city?"
Right.
And it's like the Strip. And it's not even like the Strip as it is today. Like, people don't realize. It was like, I'm going, man, I see at the end there's the Hacienda, and at the beginning there's the Golden Nugget or something like that. And I'm going, so this is the city.
And you're coming from New York.
And I'm coming from New York, right? 5 boroughs. We got 8 million people or something. So it was weird to me. But then I got to Nellis Air Force Base. We packed our bags, and they started driving. And I'm thinking, somebody's punking me. I'm going to prison, because I don't see anything
besides dirt.
Nothing but dirt.
Desert.
And we stop at Indian Springs to use the restroom. Well, okay, so is this the destination? Nope. We go to Tonopah, of all places. Tonopah, Nevada. I didn't even know Tonopah, Nevada existed. So I'm in the middle of the desert, and they have these vans set up. And we go into these vans, and this is where we're, like, playing video games. We're playing war games. So it was the coolest job in the world.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, my God. A kid that came, my mom used to kick me out of the game rooms. Like, you better come. My mom was a school teacher. You better get out. You're never going to amount to anything in those. Boy, I couldn't wait till it was declassified, and I could tell, "Hey, Mom, guess what I did in the military?"
Been playing video games this whole time.
I played video games, right? She's like, "Yeah, right." So it's been a great journey, and that, I think what most of that did is, like, the evolution of hip hop, going into the military, and seeing all this new stuff, new technology.
Yeah.
And when I went into Station Casinos, I went in the marketing department. Had no clue they had a marketing department. The guy who recruited me, he said, "I'm not recruiting you because you know gaming. I'm recruiting you because, one, you're young, so you're open-minded, and number 2, the leadership that you must have learned in the military." I was 28 years old, so he hired me for that part.
Okay, and so you've been an entrepreneur since you were a kid.
Yeah. It was cool stuff.
Was it difficult working for someone else, or did you just feel, I'm still learning, I'm trying to get all this?
I think what was crazy is that it wasn't difficult because I didn't have a traditional job.
Okay.
Right? Being in that whole world of Nellis Air Force Base and Tonopah and all that, that was a different world. So I said I was 18 years old. So having the opportunity to play video games and play war games and stuff like that, it wasn't a traditional, like, hey, I'm working at the lumber yard or something, right? It was like we were going to work and having fun. And then when I went to the gaming police, I almost turned them down because I said I don't want to deal cards. Yeah. I don't want to, I don't want to be a slot tech. I don't want to park cars. But when he showed me what we were doing, I'm like, oh, this is cool. So I was on the team that created that boarding pass card.
How long were you with Station Casinos?
Oh, it was just like 5 years.
5 years.
In that 5 years, it was like a boom. It was from 97 to like 2002. But it was that time when we were doing all this innovative stuff. We went from the coins in the machine to the ticket. We went from the one-arm bandits to the penny games, which is can you imagine, like, now the penny games, I remember now the penny games make more money than the $25, $10, $5 games. The penny games make way more money because of the perception that you're just playing a penny.
You don't
then
think
you're playing
twice. 300
pennies,
right.
which we don't know is, it's $3, right? So you don't think about it. Isn't that funny?
And so we are going to be going to commercial, but Some New was born.
It was.
Right? It was born after the Station Casino. Definitely want to hear that story of, you own a marketing company, you launched it, and then talk a little bit about your family, right? That they're so much of a part of it.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to commercial. Make sure you check us again. We'll be right back, okay, with Sam New.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Dr. Kovian. I am a naturopath or a doctor in natural medicine, a holistic practitioner, and I specialize in uncovering the root causes of your symptoms of health problems. How do I do that? Well, I use the electromagnetic resonance technology, same thing that CAT scan and MRI uses in the hospital. And once I know what's the root cause, through natural solutions such as teas, soups, smoothies, I'll give you the recipes for you to empower your own body's healing mechanisms so that you will heal or prevent any future health problems. You can reach me out here in Las Vegas. My number is 702-365-8000, or you can look for Balance, Salud y Vida. I have a website, I have social media, but 702-365-8000 is the best way to reach out to me. I will help you better your health, prevent any illness, increase your energy levels, reduce inflammation, pain. You will feel amazing. It will be a pleasure to serve you.
Introducing See Us Now Staffing, led by yours truly, Laura Nowlin. As the founder and president, I bring over 17 years of expertise in sourcing for talent, building winning teams of professionals, marketing, and workforce development. At See Us Now Staffing, we're not just a staffing agency. We're your strategic partner in building a winning team of professionals for your business. My passion for community service extends to connecting entrepreneurs with local resources. Recognized by the Small Business Administration as the 2022 Nevada Family-Owned Business of the Year, we're not just changing the workforce landscape, we're defining it. All right, welcome back with Let's Talk Business and Shaundell. Some new. So how was some new?
How did it come to some new, right? So my dad used to always tell us, if things are not working the way you want them to work, do something new.
Okay.
Right. So our last name is Newsome. So he said, just flip it around. When you flip it around, it changes everything. So we started off first. After Station Casinos, I said I wanted to start my own business because I saw what they were doing. I saw the family, and they were building and expanding and growing. I said, I want to do that because also I knew that they had the opportunity to change their community through being an entrepreneur and owning businesses. So the model was own this business, make it successful, and then you can support your community. Okay, I could do that.
Yeah.
So I went into business. I left Station Casinos in 2002, and in 2002 I went to the SBA, Small Business Administration, and the Nevada Small Business Development Centers, and started taking a lot of courses because I didn't want to go in there and fail. But I also took a role with a couple of agencies to help them with business development. So I had I could have some money coming in. So I did that while I was building out my vision.
Yes.
I wanted a company that was different than the ad agency that had all of the designers and the content writers, and I didn't want that same thing that I always saw. I wanted to do something different. So again, it went back to something new. It kept coming back, something new.
Yeah.
We started as Newsome Marketing Enterprise in 2006. And I was on the board for the American Marketing Association. So I traveled, went to different conferences, looked at the models of what everybody else had, and I found a niche that nobody wanted to really play in. And it was called public outreach and engagement.
Okay.
So that's one niche. There's one area where nobody wanted to be working on these projects with the Department of Transportation, the state agencies, and you go into the communities and you just basically tell them about this project. We're getting ready to do this road. Let me go by your house, tell you what's going on, bring you to a meeting, those type of things. That was the one thing. The other thing I knew that people didn't want to deal with was small businesses. Because everybody wanted to be Darren Stevens. I don't know if you're Darren Stevens. That's from Bewitched, right? Everybody wanted to be that big ad agency guy. I come with this big idea and I make things happen. Everybody wanted to be that guy. I didn't want to be that guy either. I wanted to help the small businesses because of Michael Collins, the guy that helped me get helped me get my first internship. I wanted to help people like him. I wanted to help the local grocery store, the small restaurant, the different small business owners who I found later were just as important as the publicly traded companies.
Oh, definitely, yes.
Right? I didn't know that before, but then I said I want to help the small business. How can I do that? And so I started doing workshops back in 2000. Actually, I did workshops before then, but I started doing workshops and doing workshops with SCORE, SBA, and all that. And then doing what I created the 12 Steps of Marketing, which I turned into a book today. 12 Steps of Marketing, A Perfect Guide to Branding is the book. And I said if I'm going to help small businesses, I got to pick an area where I can help them. Right. I can't help them with finance. I can't help them with legal. But I found that small businesses have a challenge with accessing new customers and retaining current customers. Those are the two things I think I can solve, right? So what problems can I solve? I can solve that. So that's when I did the 12 Steps of Marketing, started helping small businesses and started working with the owners and telling them there's a process to marketing. I learned that back in the David Ogilvy days. There's a process. Like, no matter what the tool is, there's a process.
When did your family start getting involved with the business?
Unbeknownst to them, they got involved right when I started the business. So I used to, it's interesting because my daughter interned from day one. My daughter Tiara, who's now the CEO of Some New, she interned back 18 years ago. She was an intern.
I love her. She's great.
She is wonderful. Huh? That's my baby. Yeah. My wife was always there helping, I had a bookkeeper and I had an accountant. Well, my wife would always look things over for me, right? She's like, okay, they're doing this, but I want to make sure they're doing it right. Right. So she was always after she got off, she was in food and beverage. Okay. So food and beverage, they're very, very tight on the numbers, right? Because they don't want to waste anything. They want to make money. So she always looked at the books, and at night, when she came home, she'd look at everything, make sure it's straight, make sure it's good, so I could focus on the business. Right. My niece Carla, she has always been. She was one of my first hires. My oldest daughter Lesteph, her best friend Naomi, and then there was a young lady from Howard that graduated from Howard University. I hired all three of them. All of them in my first 4 months of being in business.
Well, I know that you do a lot of mentorship, and I do too. I love bringing in the youth, especially right now with the workforce being so different.
Yes.
Different.
Yes.
So is that something that you would encourage others to do?
Absolutely. You know what? But you have to think I'm sure back in the day when Michael Collins brought us in, here we're coming as hip hop kids, right? Yeah. And you have to have the patience and understanding and listen and the empathy. And a lot of people talk about artificial intelligence. I always talk about emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is where you can go in and you can empathize with anyone. And this is what you have to be a great marketer anyway. In order to be a great marketer, you have to decrease your own self and you have to increase the person you're doing marketing for. Right. So it was a great practice for me. it was easy to do that. You know, just kind of like, okay, this person needs X. How can I make this happen? So I think that's a skill. And so young people don't know what they don't know.
Right. I know that for me, my best team members that I've hired have been the ones that I've mentored since they were 16 years old. I mean, I look at my daughter. I've been mentoring her in the business since she was 14 in the industry. Yeah. My sons, there's no way they could have learned this, even if they had gotten to one of the top business schools, of what they've learned by just working with me in the business. Right. And one thing that I'm really strong on is mentoring, because I was mentored.
Right.
So I think it's easier when we've been mentored, because we're like, how can I give back what was given to me?
Yeah, and the impact. The impact that you make from mentoring far exceeds any revenue you make in business.
Yeah.
Watching people grow and seeing, like, there was this young man who came up to me. He had a full beard and all this and his hair, and he goes, "Hey, Shaundell, I interned with you back in 2007, and now I'm working with Senator Jackie Rosen," and I'm going, wow.
Yes.
So that is the real reward. Like, and I tell people all the time, like, we as small business owners, when I go to DC and go on the Hill, I try to make sure that there's a great delineation between the corporate guy and the small business owner. There's a big difference and a big gap, but they always used to try to lump us in so they could get all these different laws passed. So I remember in 2009 I went with Senator Reed. And I was sitting at a round table with the Urban Chamber, right? When I was on the Urban Chamber leadership, and he's going around talking about this great idea he has. Oh man, I got this great idea to get us out of recession, right? And so he pitched his idea, and I'm sitting there with a look, and I must have had a look like, oh my God, who's this guy, right? And he looks at me and he goes, "Young man, does it seem like you have something to say?" You know, and I'm going, "Well, sir, I don't think that's such a great idea." And everybody's looking at me like,
"Did you say that really?
Did you really say that?"
Sometimes we just have to really say it.
But it was like Miss Hannah Brown, all those folks who, you know, they're looking at like, you don't say that. And I didn't even know who he was, to be honest. I flew out there because I got invited. I didn't know the guy was the Senate Majority Leader, right? I didn't know he was the kingmaker that got Obama. And all. I didn't know all that stuff, right? So I'm sitting there like, he asked the question. I said, he's the one who told me, hey, you know, you have to keep coming. Now, you know, he was super soft. You got to keep coming. You know, you could barely hear him. But he said, you got to keep coming back, man, to D.C. because we need a voice. Because, and here's what I learned, Laura. Everybody else there was not a small business owner. Right. They were representing small businesses.
Yes, but they were nice people. They don't know what they're talking about.
But I'm sitting there, wait a minute, I'm making payroll. So that was another thing I realized I didn't realize that people who they said they were small business owners, but they didn't have they didn't have the health care and payroll. And at that time, we didn't have a PPP loan. Right. I was going in all my personal savings. My retirement to make payroll. So and his idea was to give us tax credits. I said, by the time you give me tax credits, I'll be out of business.
For everything else that you're charging me for.
Exactly.
No, definitely.
So it's funny that's how I got into policy and stuff.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you brought that topic up, because a lot of times I hear from people that saying, you know, when you're talking about business, don't bring up politics. But I remember my mentor, when I was getting ready to start my business, they're like, Laura, whether you like politics or not, you've got to get involved because it will impact you. Sure. And I can tell you that Let's Talk Business, guess what? We have to talk about politics. Yes. Because if not, we're not going to be heard. They're going to be passing bills that have no, it's like it's going to close us down and it's going to hurt us when they think they're really helping us. Yeah. So what would you encourage then a small business owner to get involved?
And you know, when you get involved, understand what you're getting involved in. So I don't even say I get involved in politics. I tell everybody I'm involved in policy. I am not involved in politics at all. I don't play the political game. Yeah. I'm really into here's what's going to help small businesses. And my biggest thing when I go to DC like 3 to 4 times a year. When I'm on the Hill, I'm saying, okay, make sure that when you're aiming for the Amazons and you're aiming for the Teslas and you're aiming for those largely publicly traded companies, make sure we don't get hit by the stray bullet. Right. As a small business owner. Yes. I need you to understand how the small business operates and what we need done, right? If you're going to change the tax codes and you think that it's going to help us, make sure that it helps us. Right. So that's really what I think people need to understand is like, what are you talking about when you go and you talk about policy? If you're an electrical firm, right, a small electrical firm, you may not have the same issues as a large construction firm. So you just gotta sit down and know what works for you and how it works, and stick to policy, because all that other stuff, the mudslinging and all that, I don't even care about that. I said I really
tired of the parties.
Yeah, I tell them all the time, I don't want to do all that.
No,
what I want to do is focus and hone in on what's going to impact. It goes back to impact. Policy impacts people.
Yes,
that's what I want. That's what I want to focus on, is the policies that impact people. All that hype and all that other stuff, you guys can keep that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We've run out of time, but I definitely want us to talk about what is your ideal client, and how does someone get a hold of you?
Sure.
Right?
One of my ideal client when it comes to small businesses is anyone who is lost in their way of marketing, because everybody believes that they know marketing, because social media was created. Now I can just go on social media and I'll blow up. But if your content, your character of your business, like branding is the character of your business. If the character of your business sucks, guess what? You're just going to be putting out a sucky product or sucky service online to millions of people. So I tell people, if you are really, really struggling and you're struggling to find your way, and people are not just coming to you because of your brand, then you need to talk to us. You need to talk to us. So Some New Marketing is on Instagram, on LinkedIn, X or Twitter or whatever they want to be tomorrow. Right? So we're easily accessible. Our website is somenewmarketing.com. It'll tell you all the services that we have as a small business. So we keep it very simple.
No, definitely. And then a phone number.
Phone number is 702-562-6397.
And then you're also involved with Nick Steele on the Accelerator program. So when's the next class?
So one of the things, the Accelerator is winding down, but we just kicked off what is it called? Nevada Capital Readiness Program. Okay. So this program is in its 5th or 6th week. We're going to have another cohort coming up in June. Oh, wow. So people can't miss that. So the idea, the Accelerator was one launch to help people grow and develop their business. Nevada Capital Readiness Program is when you receive, we're going to help you get capital. Okay. But also when you get capital, what are you supposed to do with it?
Right, and I love the Accelerator program, because to this day, Nick will make that time, Nick Steele with Access CDFI, to be able to talk to me about my numbers, or how am I going to continue surviving, right, once you've gotten the small amount of capital that you end up getting.
Yeah, the Accelerator was all about companies that want to grow, and we put counselors, and we did a workshop series, and then we put counselors with you and bring you together. So we keep finding different ways to impact people and impact small business owners.
If you don't know Shaundell, you need to meet him, and you need to meet his family. You can catch our show on YouTube through CS Now Staffing, Balance, Salud y Vida, WWDB, Roku, and we launch every Friday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the new show that we've recorded. So thank you once again for joining us. We really do appreciate your time.
Me, and I appreciate you. And if you don't know what to do, do something new.
That's right. See you guys later.